Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Big T, right here with all of you today, and I have a really special guest, and this is episode number 200 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T WWE News and Rumors podcast for today, Thursday, June 20th, 2019, and what a way to celebrate 200. I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more proud to introduce my next guest today. Actually, a returning guest. She is, in my eyes, a legend in the professional wrestling business. I believe the best valet in professional wrestling history. And I know a lot of you might remember her as Lady Blossom, and a lot of you might remember her as Stone Cold Steve Austin's former wife. But, ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud to introduce right here Jeanie Clarke here with us today. Jeanie, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and that's a very kind intro you did for me there. I'm doing really good. Excuse me if I sound a little congested. I do have hay fever just now. We have high pollen going on. But I can hear you really well, and I hope you can understand me. And I'm really grateful for you asking me to come back there, be with you, Todd. So, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure, and I feel blessed, and I'm very appreciative that you accepted the invitation to come back here, especially on such a special day and such a big milestone for this podcast.
Well, I'm just really grateful because last time we spoke in person, and I was very happy to have another chance to chat with you.
Yeah, this is going to be great, and I know we're going to talk about a lot of things actually today, and I'm excited to get into it. Now, I know there's a big documentary series taking the professional wrestling world by storm, and it's The Dark Side of the Ring. And I watched it. I watched all the documentaries from the first season of Dark Side of the Ring, and great stuff. And I know that you were a huge part of the death of Gino Hernandez Dark Side of the Ring documentary. And I was curious what you could tell us about that, or if you have any stories and anything that you'd like to add to it. We would love to hear them.
Well, I was really impressed with Jason and Evan, who put out the series. I thought they did a great job. They did contact me because they were doing the death of Gino Hernandez. I happened to be like one of the very last people, if not, I don't know that night, but I certainly was one of the last people to see Gino alive. I lived directly next door to Gino, and I'll tell you how that came about. In 1984, I was living in Florida, and Chris Adams and I, obviously we were no longer in a romantic relationship, but Chris and I had a very good friendship. He actually originally phoned me in 1984 because he came up with an ex-wife angle. Now, this was a plan to be with Gino. Obviously, it ended up being with Steve Austin. But in 1984, he called me and he said, I've this great idea of an ex-wife angle with my friend Gino. And I couldn't actually leave Florida at that time. I was working. And basically then in about 1985, Chris and I were talking, and he said, oh, why don't you move to Dallas? We had a daughter, Jade, and we found that it would possibly be easier if we lived closer together. So Chris was living at a condo in Dallas, the same complex, Gino lived in. It was in Lovers Lane in Dallas, Texas, and basically I didn't know I was going to be Gino's neighbor because Chris said to me he would help me out and get me an apartment. So basically I just came in from Florida and happened to live next door to Gino. So I only knew Gino as a neighbor. He was very helpful. Like he would tell me where to go get my car washed or where to go shopping and sort of neighborly things. I didn't even know him as a wrestler at all, and I never was going to the Sportatorium that much at that time. The only time I went was when Chris and his wife Tony invited me along to, I think it was the Cotton Bowl. It was a huge match. It was a hair match. It was Kevin and Kerry Von Erich and Chris and Gino, and whoever lost the match would get their head shaved. So I went along to that match with Chris as a guest of Chris and Tony. And before that was the only, prior to that, I'd never wrestled. I only knew him as my next door neighbor who kind of helped me out with where to go shopping and stuff like that in the community there. But after that match, Gina was a little high, as which I hadn't really seen Gino except really normal. And his eyes were kind of glazed over. And so anyway, I'm over at Chris and Tony's apartment. Everybody's all excited, and here comes Gino knocking on the door, and he's like, "Oh, feel my head, it's so spiky. I had my hair shaved," and he goes, "Come on, let's all go out to a nightclub." So that night, it was decided I would ride with Gino, and he's like driving like 100 miles an hour, and I'm like, "Oh my God, he's crazy! This guy's crazy!" And anyway, he kind of hands me this piece of paper, and no, you'll be all right. I'm going to take care of you. Relax. And I'm in the club, and everybody's dancing and laughing, and I did come to find out that he'd given me something that night, and that was kind of the first time I see Gino in his character, because he was more like the TV persona than the guy that lived next door. Anyway, a little bit after that, I saw Gino in the parking lot, and he goes, "What are you doing later?" He said, "Do you want to go with me to this nightclub that he's to?" It's very exclusive. It's very, a lot of rich people. You couldn't just go in unless you remember. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't doing anything. Gino to this nightclub, and we stayed there 2 or 3 or 4 hours, and we got back to the condos. This would be about a week before he died. When we got back to the condos, have a beer, and I was in Gino's condo with him, and maybe about 30-40 minutes after, he pulled out a bowl of cocaine that he had in his cupboard above his sink, and he started to use that, and he got very, very paranoid. And that really worried me. But he put the plug into the sink, and he put on the water faucet. So basically, all the water was coming over the top, and I reached my hand in to pull the plug out, and he kind of grabbed me, and he didn't look at me. He was holding me quite tight by my waist, and he's like, "Shh, don't speak." And he had a gun in his hand, and he kept walking towards the door, thinking somebody was out there, and that was really frightening, to see him in that way. A little bit later on, he kind of snapped out of that, and I saw him the next day, and I was he's like, oh my God, do you think I'm a woman now? And I was, no, but how are you feeling now? And he says, I feel great. And you wouldn't recognize it was the same guy from 24 hours before, because he seemed just like himself again, just really normal guy. What happened after that is they had was a blinding angle with I think Gina put um, some hair loss solution or something to Chris's eyes. So what had happened was Chris wanted to introduce his family to his wife Tony. So Chris left for the UK because he used that as an excuse to kind of leave for the UK. And I had the key to Chris's apartment while he was gone, because I would look after it, and I'd use his suntan bed, to be honest, back then. And on the Thursday prior to when Gino died, I was in Chris's apartment, which was on the second floor, and I heard Gino's Porsche come around the corner and just park under Chris's apartment. And Gino got out the car and he had like a white cardboard box in his hand. And he caught sight of me and he shouted, "Hey kiddo, what's up?" And I was like, "Hi Gino." And he says, "Look, I've got here." I go, "What you got there?" And he said, "It's a peach pie." This is one of the shops he would tell me when I first moved in to go to, because it was like a little deli near the condos, kind of out of the way deli. And I was, "Oh, that's really cool." And he said he was going out that night, and I just wanted to stop by, and he had this pie. And so we went out. He went out that night, the Thursday night, and then me and my friend Vicky, who also lived in the condos, we were leaving the car in the morning, and Tina was very, very tidy person, not OCD, but very neat and tidy, everything in its place. Mm-hmm. And his car was always really clean and parked. So his car was parked, like the lines that you pull into. His car was out of alignment, sort of in going over to the two parking spaces, and the wheels on the left the front wheels were pointed left, like he kind of parked really quickly or hadn't really aligned his car. And I just said to Vicky, "Oh my God, look how Gino's parked," as we were leaving to go out that day. Didn't think a lot of it, because I remember the week before he was quite paranoid on the cocaine, and I thought, well, I hope he's okay. When Vicky and I came back, I saw his car hadn't been moved, and then the next day, and I thought, well, maybe he went to Houston and jumped in someone else's car, or maybe he's partying, or maybe he's asleep. But I thought I would go to his apartment and knock on the door and just check up on him. And I did knock on the door, and I could see through just a little bit through the blinds on the door, and I saw that white pie box. Well, he said it was a peach pie. Whether or not it was a peach pie, I don't know, but that's what he said it was. And that was on the table. I saw his jacket, but I didn't see him. And I thought, well, maybe he's asleep. Maybe he's not there. And then the next day, his car was still parked, like really bad, with the wheels turned to the left. And I did start to think something might be wrong. But bear in mind, I was only in my 20s, and I knew he had that amount of cocaine from the week before, and I was frightened, because and Chris was gone, so I couldn't. Chris was in the UK, and I didn't know like Kevin's number or David Manning's number. I didn't know anything, but the next thing I saw the ambulance lights, and I saw his friend Walter in from being at the apartments quite a lot, and then but it was really sad. But I saw them bring out his body in a body bag, and I was just standing there like you're not really there, sort of denial, like you. That's probably one of the saddest days I ever went through. And the Vice did do a great documentary where his mom was always worried he got murdered. But I think the documentary pretty much, although there was a couple of things I wasn't sure about when I saw that documentary, to be honest. But I think his mum got some closure. The only thing I know, I've never said this to anyone, but in that documentary, the crime scene pictures, I did notice that there was a box of Marlboro lights and a lighter on the counter.
I saw that too.
All right, now here's where I got a little bit of a question mark. See, back in the day, Tony and I would sometimes smoke a cigarette, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we'd get, Gino would go crazy. Oh, get away, you know. He hated smoking, and he certainly wouldn't let anybody smoke in his apartment. And I was just thinking to myself, well, who left those cigarettes there? That's the only thing I thought was a little bit strange, because he certainly hated it. So, with the deadbolt not being bolted, tells me maybe the two airline stewardesses that they spoke about in there, but it kind of makes you think that somebody was there. So I'm not really sure, but I definitely think he could have OD'd as well, because of the amount of cocaine that he was taking was really a lot, which could have killed him just by an OD.
Yeah, I mean, you know, another thing I'm thinking with the cigarettes, I don't know if anybody was with Gino, you know, on that night when he came back home. But I don't know if maybe if he had somebody over his place that was a smoker and they forgot to take their cigarettes with them when they left. But
I know for a fact, that Gino had a real thing against cigarettes. Mm-hmm. So I got to me like, whose cigarettes are those? Because he definitely, I can't see him letting anybody smoke cigarettes in his apartment.
No, especially
he even told me once. He goes, because he was dating a girl called Julie, and he said, and I remember he said to me, she smokes cigarettes, and there's no way I'm competing with a box of Marlboro Lights. That's quote unquote what he said. So, you know, he just had a big thing against that. But yeah, it's an interesting thing on the crime scene pictures was, oh no, somebody must have been there because of the cigarettes. And that, I didn't know that, and I didn't see or know that until the show came out and I saw the pictures, but I did think it was strange. Yeah, it just left me thinking.
And that's a very good observation. You know, like for me watching, you know, because I didn't know Gino personally. Like for me just watching, you know, when I saw the photos, you know, the thought that just came into my head, I'm like, well, I guess Gino, you know, was a smoker. But see, you know, that's because I don't know him personally, you know.
Yeah, that's it. That's just says that somebody, because when I saw him on the Thursday, he said he was going out that night, and I never, even though I lived next door, I never would have been awake when he got home.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes you think somebody was there and left because the deadbolt, and maybe he got paranoid and they left. I don't know. That's the thing. That's very sad, isn't it?
I'd say, you know what, it's a very good observation, and you know what, I'm really glad, and I'm, happy, even though it's a sad story. I'm really glad that you shared, you know, a little bit about this, and I know the dark side of the ring too with these documentary series. It's really taken the wrestling world by storm.
Now, there's strangely last week I got an email from ITV, which is a huge British TV company. You probably heard of it because they did the World of Sport. Do you remember that? Like not that long ago,
Yes.
ITV.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have been running a show called Autopsy, which is kind of a medical show where top doctors and forensic pathologists they give their opinion on celebrity autopsies. For instance, they had Michael Jackson, and they look at all the autopsy report, and they had James Dean. Well, anyway, they phoned me just last week and said that their next one, or the one that they are researching just now, is on Chris Benoit.
Wow.
And maybe they contacted me because I'm local, because it's a London. And I said to them, look, I can't make any comment on that because I didn't know Chris Benoit. I met him very briefly, and I met Nancy briefly. But I was in the UK when that happened, and they're like, oh no, can we just have you do an interview, just what it's like being the wife of a wrestler and being someone who worked in the industry. And I didn't really think I could give them too much, but I think that show comes out in September.
Okay.
Excuse me. So that's meant to be worldwide, but it's a show called Autopsy, and it's on Chris Benoit, where these doctors and people are going to look at all the reports, and it might give another perspective on stuff. So it might be very interesting.
I'll be on the
You can see the show Autopsy on YouTube if you Google it. It's quite a good series.
I will definitely be on the lookout for that because I do want to see that show when it comes out, and thank you for sharing that as well. And you know what, the interesting thing about that is, with you bringing that to my attention, and I just thought of something, because I'm looking at my computer, and I see the date on my computer is June 20th, and the light bulb just went off in my mind. This is the 12th anniversary of the tragedy, actually today.
Oh, right.
And
oh my gosh. That might be why they, I don't know, but that's very sad, yes.
And then,
Like I say, I was in the UK when that happened. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. 1 year ago, actually, it was a very long podcast. It was almost a 4-hour podcast, but it was like a very, very good podcast, and just the full story about everything. My professional wrestling photographer friend that I told you about, Bill Otten,
Yeah.
he came on the show actually 1 year ago today, to this very day, and we did a podcast called The Nancy Benoit Story, because he was the one, that got Nancy into the industry, and he told the whole story about Nancy's career, and then the tragedy and the funeral, and I'm just thinking about that. Yeah, when I looked down and saw June 20th, I'm like, wow, this is the anniversary.
Well, that's coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, it
I
is.
have heard of him. I think he got her started, did he, from way back way? Yeah.
Yes, back in the 80s, yeah. And I believe it was the photo that he took was, I believe, Nancy and one other girl. I think her name was Linda, and then in the middle, in between the two of them flexing, was Billy Jack.
That's right. That's right. I can remember that now.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's kind of been a little bit on the scene. Have you seen? He challenged Hannibal to a match because they had a. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Sorry to bring that up. You just mentioned his name, and then it just reminded me there was a boxing kind of match at the ECW arena.
Billy Jack's still ready to
You're
fight.
okay, that kind of was just a couple of weeks ago, was it?
Yeah. That was just a couple weeks ago. You're right. That was
Because
recent.
they did an interview and it was going quite well in the beginning. It really went south, didn't it? At the end.
Oh my God! It went very south. That was actually at I was actually down there.
Yeah, was that at a big convention of some kind?
That
And
was
he
at
was,
a markout for the Meadowlands. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I didn't mean to cut
I
you
know,
off,
I
but yeah.
saw that. Oh no, I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, what just happened? And oh.
And
And then I saw this challenge, and
that was actually the day. I think that when that happened with Billy Jack and Hannibal, that was the day of WrestleMania, I believe, because I was down there
yeah,
for WrestleMania.
yeah.
I remember.
But that match is never gonna happen.
No, I don't see Billy Jack and Hannibal getting in the ring. I don't.
No.
But yeah, I remember that interview, and
But he challenged Steve to one of those a year or two ago, did he?
you know what? I believe he did. Now that you're talking
After
about
Roddy
that,
Piper died.
yes, that's right. That's right. Yes. See, now you
After
refreshed
Roddy
my
Piper
memory.
died. Yeah, because something to do with the podcast one or something, and yeah, I can't remember everything, but I just remember he put a couple of challenges out there.
I know. Last time we talked about, you had some great stories about Steve. You talked about your book and things that happened in your marriage and whatnot. And one thing that I forgot to touch on, and believe it or not, this has been on my mind for 2 years since you were on the show. Because, when I was laying in bed at night ready to go to sleep, the night that actually I interviewed you, I thought to myself, I'm like, damn it, I forgot to ask Jeanie this question. This is one of the more well-known things.
What question is it?
It is all about Stone Cold Steve Austin's name, because we know that you're the one that invented the Stone Cold name. And
well, that's right, because he did not like the ringmaster,
mm-hmm.
and we were actually just sitting on the couch. We were flicking channels, and a show came on called The Iceman, who was was he a hitman? I think he was a hitman. Greg, oh, I can't remember his name, but basically Steve liked the concept of this ice cold kind of killer instinct, and so he sort of spoke to the office in WWE, and they faxed him over a bunch of names, like Fang McFrost and And I remember Brian Pillman actually being on the line, and everybody was in hysterics. So I can't remember those names now. Isn't it crazy? But they were really hokey. And and then I said, "Oh, Steve, don't worry too much about it. Just drink your tea before it gets stone cold." Because me being from England, I would drink hot tea,
Mm-hmm.
and I got him addicted to drinking hot tea. And then I went, "There you go, Stone Cold Steve Austin," and that's pretty much how it started. So he liked that, and it was all over a cup of tea.
That's something,
Because in England, everybody likes their tea. It's like a cure-all for everything. If you have a headache, have a cup of tea. Oh, I just wrecked my car. Oh, have a cup of tea. So it's like this cure-all. So sit down, just have a cup of tea. Don't worry. Drink it before it gets stone cold. So kind of happened like that.
And now you're sitting on here doing a podcast with me. Do you have a cup of tea handy?
I have finished my cup of tea.
Oh,
I drank it,
I
so
bet.
I didn't have to let it get stone cold.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm thinking now. When was the last time that you were in the when you were in the business? When was your last year in the business?
Oh gosh, I wasn't in the business very long at all. Although I was around the business for many years because I met Chris when I was 19,
Okay.
and we worked together in the UK world of sport back then. Those were the days where they used to have wrestlers like Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks, but our little road crew, Chris and I travelled with, was a very young Dynamite Kid. He was about my age, about 19, and a very young Davy Boy Smith, who was really, quite skinny. And of course, Dynamite and Davy ended up coming over to the States. So, but I was around business. So, Chris and I got to Los Angeles around 1980, and we went up to Portland together, and then of course we did the broadcast angle around with Steve around, I'm going to say 1990, and then Steve and I went on to WCW. But the match Halloween Havoc, um, which was nearly my last big match. I was feeling quite sick on the road, where I was actually pregnant during that match, so I had to quit. So I wasn't really a performer anymore in the industry after 1990. But then, of course, I went on to have another daughter with Steve, so I was around the industry to about 1999, when obviously Steve and I got a divorce. The last time I did anything I have been to a couple of conventions. I was at the CAC, which is quite cool. Have you been there?
Where's that at?
The cauliflower, Las Vegas.
Oh, you know what? I've been to Vegas, but I've never been to that convention. I would love to. I would love
Okay,
to do
because
it.
that's the Cauliflower Alley club, and that's quite cool because it's really like a reunion, because it's not a lot of it's not like a fan fest where it's just autographs and photo ops, etc. It's actually a lot of um, time just hanging out and chilling. I found that really fun, and they have a really good deal to stay at the Gold Coast, I think it is, which for like $30-40 a night. So it's really interesting how you could hang out there, and they had quite a lot of like a dinner on and stuff like that. That was the last time I went anywhere, was 2017, because the last couple of years, I just sort of bought a house, so I've been doing a lot of decorating and stuff, and but so I haven't been around working in the industry for many years.
Well, I know the Cauliflower
But
Alley
I still
Club.
show up here and there. Yeah, it's fun.
I remember I actually interviewed a couple people that I believe belonged to it. Bob Cook and B. Brian Blair.
Oh yeah, yeah. Brian Bless, he's a lovely guy. He's the president. Is it president of it? And they're very, very, very nice people, and I thoroughly enjoyed going there. And I'd love to go again. I might go. They were talking about the possibility of Chris getting an award.
Oh,
You know, what do they call the award after you die? What do they call that? Post.
is it like a lifetime
Anyway,
achievement award or something?
yeah, that kind of thing. And believe it or not, my daughters with Steve, Stephanie and Cassidy, they're my daughters with Steve, were very fond of Chris because when I lived in Dallas, like I said, Chris and I had a friendship all the time. We never fell out, even after we split up. And 5 months before Chris died, he came to my house in Arlington, and he took my daughters with Steve, Stephanie and Cassie, over to Six Flags. And what was really cool of Chris was my daughter Steph, she liked this one ride, and there was like an hour to get on the ride in line. And then he waited with her for that hour, and then she said, "Oh, can we go on again?" He waited another hour. So, "Oh, can we just go on one more time?" And they had fond memories of him. And then my daughter Cassie, Chris picks this little flower from the garden, and he got on one knee and he goes, "Will you marry me?" And she got all shy. So they made me at the Cauliflower Alley to give a little speech. And my daughter Stephanie and Cassie did. You know, Chris has obviously had a lot of problems with his alcohol, and we know all the bad stuff, but there is some good stuff. So we wanted to give a little good stuff on Chris as well.
Yeah.
That he really, you know, he was a Jekyll and Hyde. You know, he was extremely sweet, warm, friendly. Of course, if he had a drink and something happened, he got in a lot of trouble. But I just sometimes feel that Chris, you know, it's not all bad. He could be a really sweet person, you know.
Oh yeah.
But my daughters loved him. Stephanie and Cassidy, they loved Chris. They cried their eyes out when he died.
Oh, you know, it's always sad to lose someone. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's really sad. But I had something in my mind that I was just gonna ask you about. Um, oh, it was about your name that you had, Lady Blossom. Now I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't believe I asked you this in the first interview. I'm not sure if I did. If I did, I apologize. But how we
How did it
established?
come about?
Yeah, how did it come about? Because we established how you invented Stone Cold's name. So how did your name come about?
Well, obviously when I was working the angle with Steve and Chris in Workhouse, they just called me Jeanie Clarke. And so one WCW, Dusty said, "Well, what's your name that you use, whatever," because and I went, "Oh, just Jeanie Clarke." No, no, no. We're going to call you Lady Blossom unless you put something else. And I was like, "Oh no, please, I gotta think of something. I hate that name." And I couldn't think of anything. And right, your name is Lady Blossom. And then I found out after the fact that it was because breasts were blossoming out of my top, according to Dusty. So that's how I got the name. So Dusty Rhodes gave me that name.
Dusty, good old Dusty, and it's interesting that you bring up Dusty because it gives me a memory now. Dusty, such a great wrestler and great performer. And
Do you know what the fans? Do you know what the fans, when that hated me because I was a heel, they used to call me Lady Possum.
Oh my God!
They used to shout that. I used to hate it. Steve used to laugh. Oh, did you hear that? What they're saying? And he'd laugh, and I go, oh, I hate Dusty for calling me that. But no, he was lovely, Dusty. I really appreciated him giving me an opportunity because he only met me like, maybe an hour, and he said, be at TV. And to be honest, for somebody who wasn't pursuing a job, that was probably a pretty lucky break.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And,
Yeah.
the amazing thing is you were a natural at it, too. Just a natural at being a valet. Like, the managers nowadays, I prefer the managers of the olden days because the managers nowadays, there's not many, number one. Number two,
No, because most women wrestle now, do they?
Yeah, most of them wrestle. And,
Yeah.
the couple that don't really wrestle, even if they're a manager, they gotta find a way to get physically involved, like, not do things that you used to do, like maybe hand things to Steve or try to distract the referee. They feel the need that they gotta get physically involved even if they're just a manager, but most of them do wrestle. Like, I always look at you as...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Back then in WCW, when I came in, there was Missy, who was obviously great at what she did, and then who was Alexander York, but we were all kind of valets, and then they brought Medusa in, who would, get the brass nuts, but she was so talented, and she really could work. I think she's amazing. I really think she's a nice person as well. But she was like the only girl that could really wrestle then when I came in.
Yeah.
She actually didn't have anyone to work with her because none of us, we were all kind of valet, Missy and Terry and I. But she was pretty awesome. I really had a lot of respect for Medusa.
Yeah, Medusa's one of the great ones, and when I look at you, because I'm like, wow, all the days of just the classic wrestling valets are just, it's not really there anymore.
Yeah.
And I look at you as one of the true, like, you're the true definition of what a valet should be.
Oh, well, that's kind of you. Thank you.
I think you and Steve worked great together. I mean, even the thumbnail for this podcast, what people are going to click on to listen to it is actually a photo of, you and Steve walking down to the ring at Halloween Havoc. I believe it was 1992.
It's really funny because, because Steve and I had a lot of fun because he just started out really when he hadn't been working long. When they put me with him, or Chris put me with him, and we used to have such a lot of fun with our interviews. And I remember one of the guys, he took over from Mark Lawrence, Craig Johnson, and we used to do stuff back then like cutting hair and stuff, like snipping. And one time I was out there with scissors, like doing the scissors to the camera, and I put my hand down, and the scissors hit Greg Johnson in the groin, and he jumped and went on camera, and I actually did lose because I was trying to be all mean, and I actually had to, and I looked at Percy and Steve, and Percy and I just literally burst out laughing. But those were so much fun. It was so much fun. You know, because it's one of those things that just happen. It's live TV, and I stabbed him with the scissors accidentally, and and I looked at Percy and I was like, "Don't start laughing, just don't start." And he did, and we were just, and I was just like, totally lost my character. But it was fun looking back, and he was something else as well. Percy, he was a great person. I thought he was just real character, was he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the good old days. That's what I call it. The
The
good
good
old
old
days.
days. Yeah.
There was nothing like it. I mean, you and Steve and Chris and even Gino. You guys were, and are part of an era that's. I believe it's never
It's
really gonna
gone,
come
yeah.
around. It's never gonna come around again. Like even today, pro wrestling is getting more popularity, like with Dusty Rhodes' sons. Cody and Dustin now in AEW and the
Yeah.
new company
Yeah, and
starting
I
up.
thought he did wonderful. And I love Dustin. He's just such a nice person. But yeah, I mean, it's a different altogether, isn't it?
It is, even though you could get some good things out of the product today in today's day and age. It's just like you know how they always say, oh, you should look forward and never look at the past. But with wrestling, I can't help it. It's the past is just those golden years, and it's such a great time. And I wish we could get it back, but it's like the more and more that the years go
I
by,
don't think it'll ever come back, will it? No.
I don't think it's going to. I think
No.
it's memories like these, and all these things that we're sitting here talking about now. That's just things that we have to cherish and enjoy. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
but it was just a great period in professional wrestling, and I'm glad actually that. I was born and I was alive to be a part of it, because actually it was that period in wrestling that made me a fan.
Yeah. I always thought to myself, if I ever got back to Dallas, um, oh, I'd love to just go see the Sportatorium again. You know, I mean, I'm 60 now, and and then I saw that Heroes of World Class with Kevin, and they tore the place down, and I found that really haunting. That where Kevin went back, and I could remember Kerry and Kevin and the Von Erichs and the people. I could remember the electricity kind of feeling in the Sportatorium, and it's really sad because it's all gone.
Yeah.
You know.
Even the ECW arena, even though it's still standing, I think they did all kinds of
Oh,
renovations on that too.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's like all those classic things, are not around, but we do have the memories,
yeah. We do. We have that.
and I'll always hold
I've
them.
really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed our chat. It's been quite ad lib and having a chat long, have we? It's been amazing talking to you. Brought back memories.
Oh, Jeannie, you know what? It's such a great time, really. It is, because it's been 2 years. It was actually June of 2017 when you were on for the first time, and it was just a wonderful podcast. And now we're just picking up here, and talking for the first time in 2 years, and it's like we've never missed a beat.
It is. It's just seems like yesterday.
Maybe you need to get into the podcasting world and start your own podcast and get some guests on, because you're a really good talker.
Oh, I don't know about that, but you're a very good interviewer.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Last thing I was gonna ask you. I know you were talking about the Cauliflower Alley Club and the conventions for the signings and whatnot. Um, I know of a couple of them because I try, at least I try to go to WrestleMania. Every year
Oh,
I try to go, and when I'm down there in town, they have this big convention called WrestleCon. I don't know if you ever heard of WrestleCon.
oh, I have. Yes, it's around. Missy was telling me about it. I think she was there this year, and she told me that it was in New York, and she really enjoyed that. But I've never been myself.
You should try to go. You know what? I would love to meet you one day. I would love to meet you one day, and I
Well,
think
you know what? I'll make the point of trying to get to one of those. I haven't ever been yet, and I'd love to meet you too.
yeah, because if you end up getting to WrestleCon, there's a chance that I might be out there. One of these times, and it'd be awesome to meet you. And you know what? Maybe we could even do. I could bring the old camera, and we could do one of these chats live and in living color.
That would be amazing.
I think.
That would be amazing. I'd love to. I'd love to get there. I know, like, I'm still really good friends with Missy, and maybe me and her could share a table or
Yeah.
something and do a WCW photo op
You know what
back in the
actually?
day.
You know what actually gave me that idea of trying to do the live chat on camera with you. If we ever meet at one of those conventions, it's from. I saw a video of you on YouTube. I don't know if you remember. Well, I'm sure you'll remember it. It's you did the after chat with Bill Apter,
Uh
and
huh.
and I
Oh, that was in Charlotte.
yep,
That was Legends show with Greg Price's show.
and I watched
That's
that.
right.
It was about a couple weeks ago when I watched that, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, all right, you're out and about doing some things, and then I see Bill after interviewing you. I'm like, hmm. I'm like, you know what? If
That's something we should do. Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking, if we ever meet at a convention, I might have to break out an interview with you and have a little chat live and in person.
Well, I'd love to do that.
That would be fantastic. And we got some great reviews here from one person, actually, because, there's a live chat, for where people can chat or give their thoughts, on YouTube while this podcast is going live. And I see one chat here, actually, from Lisa, who was one of my first subscribers, actually, when I started my show, 5 years ago. And she remembers our show we did a couple years ago. She's like, "Welcome back, Jeanie Clarke."
Oh, tell her. Oh, if she's on, like, thank you for listening.
Oh yeah, she's on, so she heard you. She heard you.
Oh,
So
okay.
she listened to this show as well, and she's really enjoying it. So yeah, a great turnout for the second interview that we've done. Is there anything else that you would like to say, or anything else you'd like to talk about before I take us off the air?
Um, no, just thank you so much, and again, I hope to make it to WrestleCon and get to do a live interview with you.
It will.
And I'm very grateful to everybody who listened to me.
Yeah, it would be great. I hope we get to do that sometime. And it's been a pleasure, Jeanie. It really has. And
Oh, it's been a pleasure for me, and really enjoyed it.
and Lisa said she actually said back to you. She's like 200th episode celebration. Great interview. 2 years flew by, and I really enjoyed listening.
Oh, bless her. I'm really grateful to her for taking time to listen to our little chat.
Yes, and Jeanie, I got to tell you, you know, for this podcast that started, all those years ago, and I look back on the records, and the first interview that we did together was episode number 60, and here we are, 140 episodes later for
Wow.
episode
You've done,
200. And this is a big
you've done amazing.
this is a big milestone for me. There's a lot of podcasts out there. There really is a lot of podcasts out there, and it's hard, for a lot of them to go through for years and years and years, and you know, there's some that don't even make the 200 episode mark, and I'm gonna keep going strong, and for you to be here and accept the invitation and to celebrate this milestone with me and be here for episode 200. It's just amazing. I can't thank you enough
Oh
for
wow,
it.
I'm really honoured, and you must be very proud that you've done so well, and everybody enjoys your show.
I'm really proud, and you know what? It's I couldn't do it without my audience, and honestly, I couldn't do it without great people like you. There's a lot of people in the business that gave me a chance. Somebody that's not, a big famous name or a well-known journalist in the community,
Well, I
but
know a few people that would possibly be on your show, and I'll text you their numbers afterwards, because I'll say how wonderful it is to be on your show,
I would
if
greatly
you'd like,
appreciate
and
it.
I'll send you a text after we hang up.
Okay. And Lisa put in for another chat. She says, "Live interview sounds wonderful, Jeanie." Okay, so here we go. One fan's already spoken, so I know more is gonna come out and say that they want it. So we put that out there in the universe, and now a live interview is wanted. You know what? If WrestleCon doesn't happen, I might have to go on out to the UK.
Yes, that's right. They have a big event over here now called For the Love of Wrestling.
And you know what?
Every year.
I've
Yeah.
never been out there. I've never been to the UK, so I guess there would be a first time for everything, right?
There'll be a first time. And I'll show you. I'll take you around London.
Oh yeah. You know what? London. I know there's a lot of great things out there. A lot of great things. So yeah, the,
Yep. If you're ever here, look me up, and I'll be happy to show you around.
yeah. If I ever make it out to the UK, I will definitely let you know.
Okay.
And let's see. All right, so that was the. There's no last questions that I have. I think we pretty much covered everything. And Jeanie, while I sign off here with my audience, you could just hang on the line, and then when I sign off and say goodnight to everybody, you'll hear about probably 20 or 30 seconds of silence. But that's me just stopping the stream. But don't worry, I will be here,
Okay.
and I'll be back on the line with you as soon as I take us off the air, and then we can say our
Okay.
goodbyes.
Okay then.
All right, Jeanie. Well, you hang on the line right there, and everybody here,
Okay.
thank you all so very much for joining in and for tuning in and listening to this very special 200th episode celebration of the Beyond the Ring with Big T WWE News and Rumors podcast for today, Thursday, June 20th, 2019. And again, another big thank you to Miss Jeanie Clarke for being here with all of us today. It was a great interview, and I hope that you guys will leave your likes and, of course, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and we'll look forward to having Jeanie back on again sometime soon. Jeanie, I hope if you're up for it, I'd love to have you back sometime in the future. So,
Oh yeah. Anytime. I'd love to.
oh, perfect. All right, so guys, we will have Jeanie back on in the future. Maybe a live interview will happen as well. You never know. We'll see how it goes, but take care, guys. I love you all, and thank you so much for being here for this very special 200th anniversary celebration. And another big thank you to Miss Jeanie Clarke. And as far as when you'll...
Hi, everyone.
and you...
The same bye.
Oh, okay. Jeanie says bye, and you guys will see me here actually later on tonight for... I know the WWE's having their pay-per-view stomping ground, so I got to come on here to do the preview and predictions podcast, so you guys will see me one more time today. But Lisa says, great interview, and she says, good night, Jeanie.
Good night.
And then everybody here, I will talk to you all later, so take care. I love you all, and thank you again for watching. Good night, everybody.
Hello, this is EC3 of TNA Wrestling, and you are so very fortunate because you are watching Beyond the Ring with Big T.